When I'm giving a gift, I like it to be an experience. Everything from the packaging all the way to the actual gift. Also, when I make greeting cards, I like for my greeting cards to have a unique, nicely handmade box. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to create your own greetings card box or a versatile box that you can use for your gifts. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get to it. Hi everyone, I'm Vanessa S. of By Vanessa S. and welcome to my channel. And if you've been here before, welcome back to my channel. You know how this goes. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Ring the bell so you'll be notified of new videos as they are released. And subscribe. And remember to share, because sharing is caring. You know, I have gotten to the point that if it's something that I can make, I don't want to buy it. And of course, yeah, you can go to a store and purchase boxes. If you make greeting cards, that's how this started. If you make greeting cards, you can purchase boxes that you can put your greeting cards in. Or if you need boxes for small item gifts, you can go to the store and purchase them. But you can make them just as easy. And I'm going to show you how in this video. Okay, so we are in Design Space, Cricut Design Space. And as you can see, we have a blank canvas. We are going to need a couple of things. To start, you need to know what type of box you want, the shape and the dimensions. There's a few ways you can figure that out based on what it is you're trying to add to the box. So if you want a narrow box, then you would create a narrow box. If you want a larger box, you would create a larger box. It all starts with your shapes. And so let's take a basic square shape. You know, I like colors. I'm going to change this to green. Okay. So let's just say you wanted a narrow box. You would create a narrow box. Is it pencil narrow? Do you want a narrow box that's pencil narrow, or do you want one that's large enough for a tie or something like that? So you have to determine what shape you want, and you start from there. I'm just going to use a regular square, the type of square I use for the boxes that I created. Okay. And you need a top and a bottom. And so I know that I want this to be a 5x7 box. Those are the dimensions that I use, so I'll just use those to keep it simple. So it's going to be a 5x7 box. And you're going to need a top and you need a bottom. So you'll duplicate it. If you're going to make multiple boxes, I would suggest renaming these so that you'll know which is which. Top. Actually, I rename everything so I'll know, because I make multiple of most of my projects, so I just need to know. So the bottom, I'm going to take this bottom one and give it a different color. And I have the top one that I'll be working with right this minute. Okay, so this is the shape. I want a 5x7 box, and this is going to be the top. There's going to be a difference in the top and the bottom, but we'll start with the top. The first thing you want to do is create the actual flaps. And to do that, you use scoring. Your operation is going to be scoring. So you go back to your shapes, get your scoring tool, bring it over. Now, for a box top, the flaps, you're going to need one side that is scored all the way down, and you'll need one side that's scored most of the way down, 3/4 of the ways down, but you're also going to need a cutting operation. So I'm going to use the scoring for the long sides, and I'm going to take it an inch in. Okay. I want the scoring operation to go all the way down to the bottom. Okay. And it needs to meet up, and you'll be able to see how it aligns. So it goes all the way to the bottom. I'm going to do a second one. It's the same size because I duplicated it. I'm going to take this 1 inch in also. I want it to go all the way to the bottom. All right. Now this is the top, this is the sides, the left and the right, but I also need one for the top and the bottom. So get my scoring tool here, make it 90 degrees. Then I'm going to bring it in. I want 1 inch. I want it approximately 1 inch. You can eyeball it or you can measure. It's totally up to you. Okay. Bring this in like that. That's scoring, and I want another one. So I'm going to duplicate it for here in the bottom. Again, I'm just eyeballing it to where I want it for right now. Okay. So technically that's what it looks like. And notice that it looks like it's a little chunkier on one side than the other. So I'm going to readjust this. Now, here's where the difference in your operations comes from. Because right now, if you were to make this, it's going to score all of this. And you'll be able to bend it, but it's not going to be very flexible. Now what you do is this part here down at the bottom, instead of making this, you know where you want it, but instead of making this one scored all the way to the end, you want this to be a cutting operation. So you're going to take this, duplicate the line, you know exactly where you want it. Line it up. Take it. You want to move. I want the whole thing to move. I'm going to line it up here. I'm lining it right where on the same direct line. Right there. I'm lining it up. But, come on. I want it to stop right there, right before, right at the scoring. But I want this to be a cutting operation. I make that a cut. And the reason is you want the flap to be able to move. And so if it's scored, it's just going to be able to move up and down, but you're not going to be able to manipulate it so that it can cut. It'll rip. You can rip it or you can cut it manually, but you're using your Cricut. Let the Cricut do the work. So you want your cut line here. Again, you'll go up here and do the same thing. And the reason why I like to make the score lines first is because that tells me where I need to put the cut line, because I want it in the same place. Because where one operation ends, the other one can start. So where the scoring ends, the cutting can start. See how that works? And you need to make sure that you take it all the way to the end, because the Cricut will stop wherever. When you tell it to stop, it's going to stop. And so if it's just shy of the end, it's going to stop cutting just shy of the end. And you want it to cut everywhere. So I'm going to take this same and duplicate it again. And so you're going to duplicate it 4 times because you want it in 4 different areas. Again, move this over. But you want this to be in the same exact spot. You want it to line up. And see, that's not lined up. You really want it to line up. Okay, there. And then do the same thing here. Move this over. Okay. And then you want to duplicate this. See how easy? This is really easy. Could duplicate. And once you do this, all right. Okay. And so it's all lined up now. And that's how you want it. Now, this is the trick to this. And this is one of the reasons why I say it's so easy. So what you're going to do now is highlight it and then group it. And what you've done is you've made a ruler for this particular box. And you can do this for every single box that you do. You created your own ruler. So now when it's time for you to make another box, you don't have to go back through this dimension, creating the dimensions. You have the dimensions. So what I'm going to do is, remember I told you I really like using the rename on the layers, because now I'm renaming this to say 5x7 box ruler. I can say 5x7 ruler. And this tells me that this is the ruler that I can use for my boxes that I want 5x7, because I've created it and I've grouped it. And so now, and when you get ready to make it, you want to attach it. It's okay to go ahead and attach it now if you need to, because you want them all to cut and score together. So don't forget to attach it before you actually get ready to make it. So, okay. So now you have your ruler. This is the dimensions for your box. You can go to the top to align to make sure it's centered. It's centered. There you are. Okay. And so now you're going to group this. The difference between, now this is your bottom. This is the bottom box, right? Okay. So you can do this also. You can group this. Now you have your bottom box. All right. We're going to do one more thing here. Let me ungroup it. I want to duplicate this because we're going to need this for the top as well. When you get ready to cut this, you're going to cut the actual cardstock or the craft board, whatever you're using. That's the green part. And then you have your scoring operation and you'll have your cutting operation. So now that we have the actual top of the box, here's your opportunity to add something. If you want to add design, or if you want to add bows and ribbons, whatever you're going to add, this would be the time for it. We're going to use this lattice, and there's something you need to know when it comes to using any type of image like this. Now, this center part is going to be scored, so it's not going to be cut. But this is a cut image. It's a basic cut image. You're going to need to manipulate it a little bit, and let me show you how. Once you add this to your center, that looks beautiful, right? It does. But if you cut this right now, what's going to happen is this center part is going to cut with it. And so what will happen is you'll have a whole square center because the whole thing is going to cut out. This is what you do. Take this part here, go down to your contour. See this contour in the center? Go to your contour, and you want to contour, meaning you want to remove this edge. Just the edge. You don't want to remove anything else, just the edge. You want everything else to stay, just the edge, okay? So what you should have is this same, you should have the same lattice design, but you don't have a border. And because you don't have that border, you don't have the edge, when you cut it, it's going to cut this way, instead of this whole thing cutting out. If you put the border back, if you add the border back to it, or if you have the border there, it's going to cut that border. So I'm going to zoom in because I want you to see. Let me zoom in because I want you to see that the border is no longer there. Can you all see that? And so when it cuts, it's going to cut these shapes out, but it's not going to cut around it. Anytime you use an image for a box like this, make sure that you are contouring out the border, because the border will cut. So notice you see a lot of green around where the border was. That's because you no longer have it. So this is with the border. Okay. Then when you contour it, this is without the border, and this is what's going to cut. All right. So that's just a tip for you to keep in mind. All right. Now with the bottom is a little bit less complex, only because all you need with the bottom is the dimensions. That's all you need with the bottom. It's just the dimension. So you have your ruler. You know it's a 5x7 because it's a duplicate. You have your ruler. You add your ruler to it. Center it. Make sure it's aligned properly. Okay, it is. Group it. Rename it. Bottom. Now you have your top and you have your bottom. Now, one last thing you need to do when it comes to your top and your bottom. And this is before you do anything with cutting. The top of your box is going to, it should be a little larger because the top is going to go over the bottom of the box. And the best way to figure out, I've done it a lot of different ways. And to be honest, the best way to figure it out is to cut it out on maybe some regular paper or some scrap cardstock or something like that, and then just kind of fit it. I'll take it and cut it, and I'll do my first cut for it. And once I do my first cut, I can see how I need to adjust it and then just make the adjustment from there. Now that you have the actual dimensions for your box, you can change the dimensions, make it larger, smaller. This is your base. So you can start here with your base foundation, and you can do a lot of different things. So that's how you create your box in Design Space. So before I go, I just want to show you how versatile making these boxes can be. Now, you can make them for greeting cards if you're a greeting card maker, or you can use them for gifts. I would add tissue, if I'm using it for a gift, add tissue paper in them and just put my gift in there. But I want to show you some other elements that I did not show you in Design Space because I really wanted you to see them. Now, I use craft board. Cricut craft board. Now for this one, notice it has debossing. I use the debossing tool for this to make the element, and hopefully you can see that. You can see it where it says love and it's floral. I have flowers in here, and I added a bow. I added a bow. Okay. Another one that I did using the debossing tool. This one says, I love you, Mom. Okay. And the box itself, this is what it looks like on the inside. Right? So again, put some tissue paper in it, put your gifts in it. If it's a greeting card, put your greeting cards in it. This is the Lattice one. I did a couple of Lattice ones. So this lattice one, I use cardstock for the bottom, you know, for the backing of it. And again, it's the craft board. I love using the craft board. This one I also use the lattice for. The difference with this one in the lattice is that this one I use craft board. I'm sorry. The difference is with this one I use glitter cardstock in the back. With this one is acetate. Okay, a sheet of clear acetate in the back. And you can add something here if you like. Just like you can add something here. This one, I like the window. You can really, with this design, there's a lot more I could have done. I could add different colors to make it, you know, like a stained glass window. I used the craft board, you know, I just wanted to see it. And then this one is a heart-shaped lattice that I used, again, using the acetate. This one, I simply put 4 squares on each side so that I can add a bow. I use this ribbon to add the bow. And then this one, I combined lattice, floral type design lattice, and then just added ribbon. 2 tips that I'm going to give you for making these boxes. Glue. It's very important that you use the right type glue. Now, I have to admit that the first couple of boxes that I made, I was using the Mod Podge on the flaps. It did not work. They would dry and it kept coming apart. And then I turned to another glue that I used it barely there. So I used that glue and it worked just fine. So Mod Podge doesn't really, I don't know what was going on with Mod Podge, but I like Mod Podge, but for this project, I don't know if it was the craft board or what, but it just did not work. But the barely there, I used that and that worked fine. Once I put the glue on the first time, it dried. It was great. Okay, no problems whatsoever. Matter of fact, see it? Also, if you're going to do something like put bows on, like these, don't use a regular glue. Use a hot glue gun. I found that using a hot glue gun helps to keep it, you know, keep it sticking on. Whereas the other, the other glue, even the glue that I used for the boxes itself, the bows didn't stick as well. So using a hot glue gun to add the bows, if you're going to add, you know, some type of a bow element with ribbon, use a hot glue gun instead. I'm trying to put it on with regular glue. Okay, so that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. So you remember how this goes. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel and ring the bell for notifications. And remember, sharing is caring, so please share. Until next time.